Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is day 29, 28? Oh, day 28 of the Leetcode Daily Challenge. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join me on Discord. Let me know what you think about today's farm. Search and rotated, sorted away too. Okay, cool. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. I'm kind of tired today. Okay, so there's nums, sort in non-decreasing order, not um no distinct values, numbers rotated, okay. Um, Yeah, I mean, if it's not, if it contains duplicates, then it is going to be at the worst case linear, right? Because you have to go, well, yeah, because you have to, like, for example, the worst case could be like, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, oops, 1, 2, 2, 2, like something like that, right? And you have to find the one. There's really no way about it. Um, uh, that said, you can if you have done the first version of it, search and rotate it sorted away. You can still try to find the smallest value, but now it's a little bit awkward when they're alike, right? When they're the same, rather. Um, eh, this problem is just annoying, and I think it's also but I think like in the worst case it's linear. But of course, like if you do things like this in real life, worst case is sure worst case is worst case, but you're not always content with being the worst case, right? You're thinking about okay, well, how can we make it faster when it's not the worst case, right? Like the overall complexity, sure, it's going to be linear, it's going to be O of n, but it still can be um, like your average case can still be faster. And I think that's one thing that I would think about when looking at these problems, especially when you're talking about an interview, talking about things to optimize for and stuff like that. Cool. I don't think there's really that much more to say then. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking like, okay, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You could do this recursively. You can do this in a iteratively kind of way. I don't know. So let's start by going back a rotated sorted away. So let's say there is a um, let's say it is distinct, right? Then what do we do? Well, let's say we have this and then we have this. So I'm like half sneezing. That's why I'm like pausing a lot. Achoo! Achoo! Excuse me. The joy of doing it live, I guess. But yeah. So given this, then the idea is, let's say you're looking for a number. I don't know. I mean, there are only really two. Let's say, um, you're looking for um, yeah. Well, let's say you're looking for three. Then here you can, as this binary search. Let me actually add a number so that's odd. You're gonna get the middle number. You look at the and you could do it. There are a couple of ways you can do this, but that's just the way that I do it. But I could look at the first element and the last element, and I go, okay, well, in this case, the 3 is not going to be between 5 and 9, so it must be in the other half. And then there you go, right? So that's basically the idea that I would think about in terms of recursion. I think I'm going to do this recursively just because I think it's maybe more interesting, but because I done the iterative before. I probably have another video on that one. If not, then let me know. But yeah, so let's go look into it, and let's kind of yeah. Let's just if we're doing recursion, then let's do if target is equal to I think the way that I'm doing is a little bit weird. So yeah, let's actually use a helper. If okay, let's say let's say we have a find function. We have the numbers already, so we have a left, a right, and a target. I guess target doesn't change, so we don't have to do this. And then now, if left is equal to right, then we only have one element. If Oh, this is I was trying to figure out whether I need to return the index, because usually you do return the index for fines, right? So like, but okay, maybe that's okay. Then that's even easier then. So if num sub left is equal to target, so then we actually just return this, right? If we only have one number left, then we could do this. Otherwise, let's say mid is equal to left plus, just in the middle. We could see whether, if num sub left is mid. Okay, so if this is the case, let's just even make it equal, right? It doesn't really matter because we have, like we said, in worst case it's gonna be linear. Though we are using more space. Don't think I didn't know that because we're doing recursion. But I just want to try something new and play around. That's how you kind of upsolve sometimes, is that do problems that you have done before, do it another way, and then maybe we have practice on implementation or something. Right. So if this is smaller, then if num sub left is in between, or the target is in between these area, then we return, well, so the reason why I hesitate is because that's because of the non-uniqueness with the duplicates. You can't just return this because it could be in the other half, because right? So found is equal to false. Found is equal. Let's say if search of left and mid, and in this case, it's important to kind of define these in terms of left, right are both inclusive, is what I was going to say, so that return true. And if this is the case, then also mid. Let's see, right? I think which I'm just trying to think about. Because basically, if maybe I'll separate them out. Let's say this is strictly less than. Then what does that mean, right? Okay, then that means that this is good. A lot of weird cases on this one. Because we're trying to think about duplicates. Okay. Okay, actually, I think this is okay then in that case, if they're not equal. Yeah. I guess maybe there's so many weird cases. So what I'm doing right now is just thinking about all the edge cases and try to figure out how to write it in a way that I don't have like 20 if statements. Is basically what I'm doing here. I only have 3, so that's not great actually. Okay, so let's say this. I think the only case where I was worried about is if this is all the same number, and though I guess if this is the case, then it should still be good. Right? So maybe I can do this. Because otherwise we return search of let's say mid plus 1 and right? Yeah. And else if num sub left is greater than num sub mid, what does this mean, right? And sometimes it's good to like not have everything in your head and just write it out and have a visualization, right? So let's say we have this case then, where the mid is smaller. What does that mean? Well, then let's just check this part. So if num sub mid right, and then else, if it's no good, then we return left mid -1. So I think one thing that I have to worry about is just making sure that yeah, if left return -1. Oh, whoops. And also this is false. Yeah, because there's no numbers in that range, right? And then else is if they're equal. If the numbers is equal, then I think in this case we just search left and right. So and of course these, I don't think it should matter which way you go. And now just find yeah, oops, -1. This is a little bit awkward for sure. But did I miss this? Oh, I wrote search, but I meant I named this fine. Okay. Maybe the naming could have been better as well, but that's besides the point. And there may be infinite loop if we're making some mistakes. I guess there is an issue with, so when you see something like this, when you have an infinite loop, that means that your rounding type handling is off. And what I mean is that because we have this mid is equal to yeah, it might mean that one half of this is like, or it probably, if I have to guess, and this is just from experience, and I know that if I'm actually not on video, I would just debug it. But if I have to guess right now, it's probably here, and it means that this number is like exactly, one length away or something like that, and it's just like preventing the rounding or whatever. So we can. There are a couple of ways you can do this, but maybe this is. Something like that. And of course, this recursion is technically not necessary. Just do another one, but yeah. And this is just from experience, right? Like I didn't really have super magical powers to kind of think through this through. It's just so if you find that debugging amazing, yeah. If you find that debugging amazing, then yeah, it's just experience and keep practicing and keep making mistakes. Right? I think one thing that I get a lot on my Discord. Let me give it. Oh, wrong answer before. Maybe I was trying to be clever. Maybe. Yeah. So this is going to be log n space, which is the one because it is recursive. I knew that. Is that true? I guess technically it could be linear. No, it could. Nah. Now, so the space is going to be log n because this recursion will only be at most log n depth. And in terms of time, it's still going to be linear because of this recursion. And you can kind of figure out this why that is the case. But this is like using Master's theorem or just like solving a recurrence, which is in most intro algo classes. So I'll definitely leave you to it because this is a recursive function and this solving recurrences is part of that. Yeah, I would say definitely like debugging and being really fast at kind of looking at code. And I get this comment a lot in my Discord is that oh, excuse me. I get this comment on my Discord a lot, which is that like, hey, I have something wrong with my code. What's wrong with it, right? And to be honest, like I don't have magical powers to look at people's code and be like, oh, you have this wrong. And if it does seem that way when I do it from time to time, it's because I made the same mistakes before. So one thing that I would urge you to do if you do one in those scenarios, it's one, look at the try to find out what you're getting wrong from. Of course, during a contest, they don't always tell you the wrong, the input, so that's harder. But that's why but that makes the skill even more important. Is try to figure out, right? But if you do get the input, then look at the input and try to figure out why it is wrong. Go through the code, analyze it as much as you can. Go to really understand why it's wrong instead of having someone tell you. Because for everything that you see me that looks instant, there have been times in the past where I spent an hour looking for one bug, right? And it's just about doing this for decades, and I have done programming, competitive or not, for multiple decades now, right? So there are definitely a lot of experience there, and yeah, and what I look for when people do it, when people ask these comments or questions, is like, hey, did they make any mistake that I would have looked out for when I would solve this problem? And I would make these mistakes because I've made them before. I made each mistake probably like 5, 10, hundreds of times. Like it's not just a few, right? So definitely do that. I think also the other thing I would say is that one is it teaches you patience. Maybe that's good, maybe not. But two is also that people say, people do say a lot, whether these problem solving things with coding, like, is it worthwhile, like, how much does it correlate to a job, and how useful it is, right, and so forth. What I always say is, what I would say to that is, debugging is probably the most transferable skill that you're going to have, just because now you're going to look at the world differently, you're going to write the edge cases differently, you're going to be thinking about, and a lot of the debugging is just knowing your own self and knowing your own limitations, knowing what tendencies you have, knowing what mistakes you make a lot, and kind of figuring that out through yourself, and spending the time there. So yeah, that's all I have for this one for today. Let me know what you think. Hope y'all have a great weekend. March is coming to a close, so hope y'all are having a good time here. But yeah, and stay good, stay healthy, take good mental health. I'll see you later, and take care. Bye bye.